Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ying's Sewing Room. My name is Donna, and I go by Handmade by Ying, where all of our projects come together one stitch at a time, from beginning to end. If you like my content, please hit the like button, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications so you'll be notified each and every time that I do go live. Today's project is me catching up on month 3 of the Corey Yoder sew along. Today's project is block 3, and she calls it Fun Dash. So it's the beautiful day sew along, as I said, and Corey has it on her webpage, and multiple people do, but I wanted to show you my little step in the process. So I've got everything cut out. This is going to be my center block, and it came from the beautiful panel that I bought from her site. I've used Raleigh Blake, and it is a spring background, and it comes with 29 pieces. So I'm going to go ahead. I have my fabric already cut out, as I said. For this block, it's going to have the purple check and like a plaid and my background. And what we're going to do is, I've already got it marked. I'm going to sew down each side and cut it in the center. We're going to do that 2 times. So let me line up my machine and we'll get this party started. So this is going to be the corners of the trim dash. So let me get this one lined up. I do use my seam tape as well as marking, because I think it just gives me that little extra. I want to make sure I got it right. I did pin because I don't like my stuff to slip, and just gives me a better outcome. So I'm going to come down and do the back side of it. Slow down there. It should have just kept going, huh? Sorry about the machine noise, but we're going to sew together. We're going to have noise. So then all you're going to do is separate these, give them a little snip, pull out your pins. Then the line that's in the center, you're going to cut on. So let me move these out of the way. And we're going to line up on that 1/4 of an inch to the sewing line. Let me see which one I'm going to use. And give it a cut. Make sure it went all the way through, and you're going to do that on the second one as well. Line your 1/4 of an inch here on your sewing line. Just lay it flat and go corner to corner on the line that you have marked. Slide this out of the way a second. Flip them over so the dark side of the fabric is facing you, and then you're just going to press it with your fingers ever so gently. You're going to do that with all 4 pieces. Just finger press them. Flip it over and finger press. And the final time, do the same thing. Make sure it's pushed open all the way when you finger press it, because you don't want your seam to roll. Then I'm going to just go straight up the seam with it. Normally I would use my acorn pin just to lock that seam. Gently do this. Then you're going to come back over and measure your blocks to make sure that you have the right size. I'm not going to give you the measurements, but I'm going to go ahead and just check mine and see where they're at. My blocks are good, so I'm just going to snip the little ears off on that one. Check the next one. And I'm just going to line it up with my mat just to double check. That one's good. So I'm just going to, like I said, trim off the ears. Those dog ears will get you every time with a little bit of bulk. And I don't like bulk in my seams. This one's fine as well. And the third one. Line it up in the corner. Come across, make sure it's straight. And snip those dog ears. So now I've got them. Just a second so they don't go on the floor. I don't want my pups to get them. So now you're going to go to your next step, and you've got 2 strips. As you've seen in my other videos, my fabric is 2-sided. So I have to lay them all down a certain way so that I have my right side facing the right way. So that one's going to go there. And this one's going to go belly down. So now I've got my 4 strips, and we're going to run those through. All of her patterns seem to be month 1 and month 2. You just stick with that 1/4 inch, not the scant, but the true 1/4 inch. I line it up. This one here, I'm not even going to pin. I'm just going to make sure that I'm using my seam tape as a guide, as well as on my foot, I have that 1/4 inch mark as well. So I'm going to run this down through. Get the next one. And as you saw, I put my right side facing down, so when I pick it up, I'm just going to face it down, line my fabric up, and run it straight through. Her pattern for this sew-along is free on Corey Yoder's site. It's also in her Facebook group. If you've missed it from the start, it's not too late to join in. And this is one I think everybody would really enjoy. It's going to turn out great. And if it's too late to get that panel in the center, she said that it is okay to go ahead. You don't need the panel. You can do pretty much whatever you like in the inside. And that block there, you can do a lot of different things. Come up with unique ideas, applique, whatever you like. I really like the panel. I'd have never worked with panels before this. And I'm liking the way that this is turning out. And when I'm finished this, I'll show you my blocks today. And then we're just going to go straight down and do the final with the 4. Gently run it through. Give it a snippet. Snip these. You're going to have 4 now instead of your 8 because you just married them all. Flip it over, that way your dark is facing up, and gently rub. Give it a little bit of a press. I'm going to come over and do the same thing here. A little nudge. Make sure you're going to the dark. It's really important on this block you go to your dark fabric. That way, when you get to where you're joining your seams, they're going to just nest really well. So we're going to do this again, all the way down, finger press it, and then flip it and do the same thing on the 4th side. I do have the acorn pin, and for this block, for my other ones, I did use it just for this block. I should be doing it on all of them. I give my acorn pin a good shake, and I come straight down, and it just helps that seam. And this is one I really like to use it on. So we're just going to come down, and your acorn pin is a starch, and if you need that, you can look it up online where to buy it. Comes with the replacement tops and everything. So I'm going to lay them over here and then just give it a little bit of heat. That's seam is going to set. And then just move it out of the way. I do have my pressing pad there, and that if I wasn't recording, that is exactly what I'd be using for you. It'll press them, and as your block cools, they'll stay flatter longer, but with using the acorn pen, I think that's enough. So now you're going to take 2 of your blocks, you're going to take your dark fabric and put it to the bottom. You're going to do that 2 times. So I'm going to take these 2 totally out of the equation. And now I'm going to take, let me move this. Your white is going to go to the outside of this block. I just want to make sure I'm getting this in right. So I've got this way. I want to make sure I'm getting it in right so that I have no mistake. So you're going to take your dark side and put it here. Then you're going to do the same thing here. Flip it. Make sure before you sew, make sure that you have your whites facing out, and this is the way this block should look. Flip it over, line it up corner to corner. You can pin it or not pin it. I'm just sticking a pin in because I'm going to do both together. And pin. This one's ready to go. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to repeat the process. Just like this. Whoops. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure I'm looking at it right. Then we're going to flip it over. Pin this side. And you have to be at the corner there. It's really important. Then you're going to do the same thing here. Flip it and pin it. So now you're going to take both sides and come straight down. And then when we open it up, you're going to see that it's the, so remember the 1/4 inch. Do the same thing over here. Make sure your corners are taut and lined up. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. It's always fun when you have someone else in your sewing room with you. Line them up. Even though you've got it pinned, you just want to make sure your corners are lined up. Pull the pin. Pull your pin here. Kind of like doing a pin count. So shake them out. You can just finger press these the same. And on this one, I'm also going to use my acorn pen. I just like the way this block lays really flat when I do it. You can put it in the seam or on top. I prefer on top with this block. And then just give it a little bit of a press over with your fingers. Do the same thing on this one. Give it just a little press with your fingers, and then come down with your acorn pen. Come back over and just touch your seam to make sure that it's in. And you're going to do that on all 4 seams. We're going to do it here again. Okay, so that section's done. Now we're going to take these, we have our last two, and we're going to marry them with this one. Now you're going to take your dark side and put it to the inside. So let's get that in. Make sure you're lined up at your bottom because you don't not want to get distorted. We're going to flip it and do the same thing. Remember, dark to the center. Press these out. This one here I think goes better to the end. Yeah, this one went better to the end. So we'll do this side to the end. Acorn pin. Straight down the seam. And then you're just going to touch your seams just to set them in. Do the same thing here. And then come across. That way it's totally flat for you. Bring it back over. Now you're going to take your top and bottom. Always remember that your colored fabric is going to go center. Get your pin and look for your seam. Right here's one and here's the other. We're going to line them up so they nest good. Then we're going to come over to the other side and do the same thing. Flip it over and do the same thing. Colored fabric to the inside, touching the center. Line them up and pin. This block does come together really easy. I starch all my fabric before I sew. I never did before, and I've learned that if I give it a good starch and then cut it, it goes together so much nicer and my blocks lay so much flatter than when I wasn't. I'm going to back stitch here and then I'm going to follow my 1/4 inch seam allowance, pulling my pin and continue on. These blocks will finish at 16 and a half. I personally am not, since I'm going to be storing these in a tray till the end, I am not going to trim them until the release of how they go together. And then I'll trim. I just don't want frays and everything at the end of my blocks. So that's just a little tidbit for anybody else that's limited on space and you want to just hold off on trimming them down if they're gonna, any chance of them being moved. Mine will be in a tray, but I'm gonna be adding to it each month. And on my channel, I'm sure at times I'll probably be showing it. Remember to please stick with your 1/4 inch. Come to the end. And I'm just gonna give it just a gentle pull, not a great big one. Just to make sure that stays lined up. I don't want to sew over my needle. So pop that out. And then down at the end. Back stitch and snip. This block is done. I'm just going to press it off and then I'll show you. trying to see which way this is going to lay better. It wants to go out, so that's the way I'm going to press it. I kind of let my fabric make its mind up on that. So, acorn pin all the way down. If you start with your acorn, you want to finish with your acorn. It makes it lay amazing. So make sure it's all pushed the right way exactly as you want it. Bring it over to your ironing station and begin setting it in. I'll bring that in real slow. And that's why they call it pressing. You're not rubbing it in, you're just pressing it in. Flip it over. Gently walk it with your fingers. And now that that's flat as a board, I like to make it a little stiffer yet. I do use a lot of best press, but it makes everything stay nice so that when I'm ready to put it together, a real quick final press as I'm adding it all in makes my quilts come out really nice. So this is today's block. So I'll give you a little preview of each one that I've done before I get off here. Here's one today. Let's do this one. And these are the Fun Dash blocks. With each month you do 4 the same block, just different fabrics and different centers. And then I've got this one. And this is my 4 Fun Dash. So that's the end for the Fun Dash. And I'm going to fold them this way so that they'll be ready to store. Then I'll show you my Rosy Wonder. That's this one. I worked on those today. Well, the other day. These were yesterday's blocks. Trying to keep my board clean for the board of many projects. And that's month 2. And this is month 1. Now that I'm caught up, I'll be able to put those all together on the tray. And then, believe it or not, month 4 is going to be coming out on Monday. How cool is that? So we'll be able to join back together for this little sew and chat for month 4. So, thank you guys for joining me today and sharing this fun sew along with you. Hope I was able to show you something if you didn't know it. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments. I do read each and every one every evening, and I do respond back to everyone. So thank you again for joining me. You guys have a fabulous weekend. It looks like it's going to be really pretty weather all over the place, so I hope you get out and get to enjoy. So please remember to like and subscribe, share my channel if you like the content. You guys have a great evening. Bye.